Listen now to the book, One Night with the Hybrid King, written by the author Anya Curves. If you want to buy the ebook, link in the description. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share. Chapter 41, Caelum. The days that followed brought a sense of return to normalcy. But this normalcy came with a deep echo of thoughts I couldn't simply push away. Routine resumed its place in my daily life. However, there was a lightness in my heart now that the antidote had been administered to Aria. The poison that had nearly taken her life was no longer an immediate threat, and with that, my chest no longer carried the same weight. Still, Aria lingered in my mind, like a shadow that wouldn't fade, a ghost that whispered in moments of silence, leaving me restless, tormented by what could have been and what might still be. The light that entered through the window of the royal office, filtered by the long blue velvet curtains, bathed the room in a soft, almost melancholic hue. I was there, in the heart of the kingdom, but my thoughts were far away, beyond the borders of the capital. The soft sound of the keys beneath my fingers as I typed emails echoed through the vast room, but it was merely background noise to the thoughts that truly mattered. Asher, tell me. I interrupt my musings, my voice sounding more tired than I intended. Is there anything urgent that needs to be addressed with the Royal Council in the coming days? Any event I should attend, or any new law that needs my approval? However, my attention is already divided before I even finish the question. My eyes quickly shift back to the computer screen, where an endless list of emails awaits replies, decisions, and bureaucracy. It's the life of a king, filled with routines and formalities, but it all feels meaningless now that my thoughts are occupied with something, or rather, someone, much more important. Aria. I glance at Asher, who, as always, is focused and efficient. He runs his fingers across the tablet with the familiarity of someone who knows every detail of my schedule. The soft sound of his interactions with the electronic screen fills the silence of the room. No, Your Majesty, Asher replies, his voice firm, but with the respectful tone he always uses. Aside from routine meetings about the economy's performance and other usual matters, you have free time. The news hits me with a mix of relief and opportunity. It's as if the universe is granting me a pause, a chance to escape, even if just for a few days, from this gilded cage in which the throne imprisons me. With no new rebel attacks and Alexander about to start his new mission, it seemed the perfect moment to step away. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the soft, cool leather against my back. Asher continues to watch me with an expression that blends respect with expectation. It's time to make a decision, and I know exactly what I need to do. Asher, adjust my schedule and prepare a car for tomorrow morning. I order, my voice laden with determination. Maid and I will be traveling for a few days. While I'm away, I leave you in charge of routine decisions. If something extremely important comes up, contact me immediately. Asher nods with the same precision he always displays, but this time, there's a question in the depth of his eyes, something he's weighing before expressing. Finally, he dares. Your Majesty, if I may ask, where do you intend to travel? Asher inquires, professionalism in his voice. I cross my arms in front of my body, thinking for a moment about the best way to respond. The words that come to my mind are heavy, because they reflect a reality I'm reluctant to admit. I'm going to visit my mother, I confess, feeling a slight tightening in my chest. The mere mention of her brings a sense of comfort and, at the same time, a pang of guilt. I need some time to think. Things with Seraphina are complicated. My words come out more bitterly than I would like, but there is an undeniable truth in them. Part of this is my fault. I need to save my marriage somehow. The silence that followed was heavy. Asher, as always, displayed admirable diplomacy, but I knew he felt the weight of what I had just admitted. Then, trying to lighten the mood, I added with a tired smile, Asher, don't marry. Asher's restrained laugh is subtle, almost a mere formality, but it brought a bit of lightness to the moment. He is a friend, as well as my right hand, and this closeness allowed us these brief moments of humanity amid the formality of the palace. I understand, Your Majesty, Asher replies with a slight smile. But before he leaves, he pauses, his voice becoming softer. As your friend and servant, I take the liberty of saying that, Our queen Seraphina has been excellent. I know the kingdom and the royal council expect an heir from you. However, Caelum, the human, Aria, she is not the solution you're looking for. Asher's words are gentle, but they carry a true weight that almost crushes my heart. He wasn't saying anything I didn't already know, but hearing it from someone else gave them a weight I couldn't ignore. Aria. Her name was like a wound I insisted on touching, even knowing it would only bring more pain. But at the same time, it was the only name that made my heart race, the only name that made me feel something beyond the weight of the throne. Thank you for your honesty, Asher, I finally reply, ending the conversation. I stand in front of the door to my room, my hands resting at my sides, but my fists are slightly clenched, an unconscious reflex to the tension building inside me. I take a deep breath, trying to gather the strength to cross the symbolic barrier before me. The intricate carvings of the wood seem to form almost hypnotic shapes. My eyes trace the detailed lines of the wood, as if this might erase the last few days, dissipate the growing tension that exists between us. But it's futile. The tension remains, an uncomfortable, suffocating presence. After our last conversation in the hospital, the words between us have been few, almost non-existent. The silence, thick as it is, speaks loudly in our relationship now, a silence that carries more than simple wounds. The marks I left on Seraphina's neck are still visible, and just thinking of them tightens a knot in my throat. Guilt mixes with shame over the lack of control I had, a weakness that has always shamed me, but this time left me exposed. Seraphina has been an exemplary wife, as Asher rightly said, and didn't deserve the treatment she received from me. The weight of guilt grows heavier by the day. In my mind, Aria emerges like a flame I can't extinguish. I've tried to convince myself that it was just one night. Just a kiss. Nothing more. I repeat these words in my mind like a mantra, trying to convince myself they are the truth. Just one night. Just a kiss. Nothing more. But for some reason, the feeling that it was something more insists on lingering, latent like a forbidden desire I can't ignore. I try, however, to push these thoughts away as I take a deep breath and finally decide to enter the room. I have to face what is happening here and now. As I cross the threshold, I am met by a disconcerting emptiness. The room is immaculately organized as always, but it seems devoid of life. The familiar scent of Seraphina still lingers in the air, that soft, floral, almost ethereal perfume, filling the space like an invisible but palpable presence. But her physical absence is almost disturbing. The silent furniture seems to observe my restlessness as I move with slow steps, trying to sense something that might explain her absence. Upon reaching the bathroom, I admire Seraphina's presence with tenderness. My maid is submerged in the bath. The atmosphere of the bathroom is gentle, with strategically placed aromatic candles illuminating the space. And then, with more focus, I can hear it. The steady rhythm of Seraphina's heart echoes faintly, coming from another room. The sound, to me, is unmistakable. She's in the bathroom. I walk toward it and find her submerged in the bathtub. The sight of her, immersed in the water, strikes me like a living painting of cold and distant beauty. Soft steam rises from the surface, blending with the dim light of aromatic candles strategically placed around the bathroom. The air inside is warm, filled with the scent of lavender and incense, creating an atmosphere of serenity, but also isolation. The shadows of the flames dance on the walls, casting ethereal shapes that seem to emphasize the emotional distance between us. Seraphina notices me immediately. Her golden eyes, like the boiling liquid of a storm forming, turn to me with a gaze that chills my bones. I stand at the doorway, feeling the weight of silence fall over us once more. Her stare is laden with coldness, an almost impenetrable barrier. In contrast, my mind involuntarily conjures the image of Aria. The differences between the two are stark and inescapable. Seraphina's skin is pale, almost translucent, as if the sun were her enemy. Aria, on the other hand, bears skin kissed by the sun, a vibrant, glowing brown, like earth under its light. Seraphina's eyes are like liquid gold, intense, almost intimidating. Aria, with her deep brown eyes, emanates a strength that glows in the sparks of her anger. The silence breaks abruptly when Seraphina finally speaks. Her voice is sharp as ice shattering on the surface of a frozen lake. "Have you come to gather your things, to make room for your new harlot, my king?" The question spills from her lips with contained venom, laced with jealousy, something I had never seen in her expression before. For a moment, I am stunned. It's the first time, in all our years together, that I detect a hint of jealousy in Seraphina. There had always been a mutual confidence, an understanding that we were above such petty matters. There had never been room for jealousy between us, or so I thought. But now, her words bring to light a new layer of our relationship, something that had always been hidden, but that Aria's presence has drawn out. I smile slyly, trying to ease the tension of the conversation. "No," I respond softly, keeping my gaze fixed on hers. "I came to talk to you, my queen." My voice is deliberately calm, carefully choosing words that might soothe her spirit. At the same time, I am fully aware that this is a delicate conversation, where every sentence could act as a sharp blade. I approach the bathtub slowly, each movement shrouded in an aura of hesitation. The soft steam from the hot water rises in spirals around Seraphina's body, surrounded by layers of foam that gather around her like a suit of protective bubbles. Even now, amidst all this tension, I cannot deny how the sight of her still affects me, how it stirs my desire. Seraphina's beauty is undeniable. Her physical presence has always awakened something primal in me. There's something about her serenity that intrigues me, a cold, sensual strength that has captivated me, even in the most challenging moments. I kneel beside the bathtub, my hands resting on the marble edge, close to where hers lies. She doesn't move, but her eyes watch me intently, as if waiting for something, perhaps a confession, perhaps a surrender. "I haven't been the best husband to you, I confess," my voice heavy with regret. My eyes linger on the bruises on her neck, now beginning to fade against her pale skin. But I still believe in us, in our marriage. The pressure to have children has created more fractures than bonds, and I don't want that for us, Seraphina. For a moment, silence falls between us again, but this time it feels different. Seraphina's eyes glimmer as my words resonate within her. Her heartbeat quickens, and I feel the slight pressure of her hand resting on mine. A small gesture, yet laden with meaning. "I don't want that either, Caelum. There's so much more to us than we can see, isn't there?" she says softly, her voice calm, though her heart skips a beat for just a second.
Chapter 42, Seraphina. Visiting Isolde is, without a doubt, the worst thing Caelum could have planned. The mere thought of spending time at his mother's castle makes me nauseous. We're supposed to be fixing what's left of our marriage, or at least, that's what he insists on believing. But to me, it's all a farce. The idea of spending time together to recover what we've lost is unbearable. And out of all the places he could have chosen, he picks his mother's castle? The conversation with Caelum in the bathroom still echoes in my mind. It was a close call. Caelum almost discovered Karen in our quarters. The memory of Karen lying in our bed still brings a malicious satisfaction to my heart. The truth is, I needed Karen far more than I'm willing to admit. When I called him, begging for his help, he didn't hesitate. He didn't turn me away. He came simply. No one has ever done that for me. Not like this, not with such unwavering devotion. The memories of our reunion in the Grimroot forest flood my mind. So vivid I can almost smell the damp earth and hear the rustling leaves as the wind whispered through the decaying trees. It's as if I'm back there, staring into those violet eyes that always made me feel desired in an intense, consuming way. He looked at me as if I were the only being in the world, and I relished it. The reverence in Karen's bow when he saw me drew an involuntary laugh from me, something so rare these days. "The last time you bowed like that to me, we were in a very different place," I teased with a soft laugh as I approached him. Karen smiled, that smile laced with both desire and mystery, as his arms enveloped me with controlled strength, pulling me closer. I didn't pull away. There was no rejection in my gesture, something I would have done with any other man who dared come this close to me. But with Karen, it's different. It's always been different. "And the last time you summoned me, you weren't dressed, my queen," he whispered in that husky voice that sent my senses into overdrive. A shiver ran down my spine. The provocation between us made the air almost crackle. "No, don't call me queen, please," I pleaded, my voice weighted with a sadness I couldn't hide. Say my name. Just that, please. He lifted my face gently, and my lips, hungry, waited for the kiss I knew was coming. But before that, I needed to hear what I'd asked for. I needed him to say it. Seraphina. He spoke my name like a melody, igniting something within me. My entire body tingled with goosebumps, and when our lips finally met, it was as if the world around us disappeared. Karen kissed me with passion, with a fire that consumed everything within me. This wasn't just any kiss. It was a kiss that pulled me into an abyss of desire and need, something Caelum could never offer me. Caelum has never kissed me with passion and love the way Karen does. Caelum has never possessed me entirely the way Karen has. Caelum doesn't have my heart, just as I don't have his. Caelum. The mere mention of his name in my mind brings reality crashing back like a cold bucket of water. I feel his hand rest on my thigh, his touch warm and ironically affectionate. But that touch stirs nothing in me now. Not after that night. Not after the attack. As much as I've made my own mistakes, the way he acted shattered any remnants of feelings I might have harbored for him. That moment marked the end of any empathy I could have had. If it's Aria he wants, then let him have her beneath the grave. I still need an heir with him. Only then will Syltirion be safe, and I can free myself from this marriage. We've arrived, my queen. My mother must be thrilled about our visit, Caelum says, his voice carrying an innocent, almost childlike enthusiasm that makes me want to vomit. How can he care so much about something so trivial? We're at an old, dreary castle, and he's excited about seeing his mother? Tell me, your majesty, why are we here? There are so many other places we could have gone to spend time alone, I ask, my voice laced with cold curiosity. There's something behind this visit, something Caelum isn't telling me, and I intend to find out what it is. Caelum lets out a nervous laugh, and I immediately know my suspicion is correct. There's no keeping anything from you, is there, Seraphina? Caelum remarks with a sheepish chuckle, and I force a smile in his direction. Well, I need to speak with my mother about a request Alexander made. The Duke's return has entirely reshaped my chessboard of moves against Aria. A new plan with Karen needs to consider whether Alexander will be a threat or an ally in ensuring Aria's death. But I promise, Seraphina, we'll have plenty of time together, just the two of us, Caelum assures me, gently squeezing my thigh. I nod, feigning interest while trying to decipher what business he has with his mother regarding Duke Alexander. The sound of cutlery clinking against plates serves as the melody to our dinner. The imposing oak table, adorned with silver candlesticks and an extravagant floral arrangement, feels excessive for a meal so burdened by silence. The lack of conversation between me, Caelum, and his mother is comforting to me, even if it weighs heavily on the atmosphere. I keep my eyes fixed on my meal, bracing myself for the cruel words I know Isolde is plotting to hurl my way. This silence, it's so cruel, isn't it? Her words are steeped in false compassion, a mask for the true disdain she always directs at me. I keep my gaze fixed on the plate before me, a delicate fillet resting atop a root puree, something that, in any other circumstance, would be worthy of a feast. But now, it's nothing more than a tasteless mound. I refuse to fall into Isolde's trap. Her provocations won't touch me, or at least, that's what I force myself to believe. Her game is an old one, and I already know the rules. Ignoring her is the best defense I have. If there were grandchildren, she continues, her tone casual but calculated to wound, this table would be full of voices and laughter. Ah, there it is. The arrow has been loosed. I'm not surprised, but the blow still strikes my chest, as it always does. Every word she utters about children is a bitter reminder of what hasn't happened yet, of the weight I carry every day for not having given Caelum an heir. I shift in my seat, correcting my posture, trying to appear unshaken. I lift the wine glass to my lips. The ruby liquid is the only thing that seems to offer me any solace in this battlefield disguised as a dinner. Forcing myself to look up, I meet Caelum's gaze. He sighs a quiet, almost imperceptible sound, but to me it's a cry of resignation. His expression is one of weariness, of shame, perhaps even guilt. A weak smile escapes his lips, almost like a silent plea for me to stay strong. Chapter 43, Seraphina. Should you really be drinking so much, Seraphina? Isolde questions, her eyebrows arching in my direction. A queen should not allow herself such indulgences. My hand tightens around the goblet, now nearly pressed to my lips. What I truly wish to do is scream that there isn't enough wine in the world to help me endure her presence. Instead, I don my armor as the wounded mate, a guise I've recently mastered. Caelum, after our last confrontation, is drowning in remorse. And I know how to wield that. With a simple turn of words, I can bend the king to my will. And that includes manipulating his mother, astute as she may be. "Forgive me, my lady," I murmur, lowering my head in feigned sorrow. With everything that has happened recently, I feel lost, almost helpless. "You're right, of course." My words are soft, designed to paint a picture of fragility. While anyone with a shred of compassion might be moved by the pain woven into them, Isolde remains unmoved. Naturally, a worthy queen does not succumb to drink. Least of all one who has yet to give an heir to the kingdom. Her tone strikes like a slap, sharp and unyielding. "Mother, it's just one glass of wine." "Seraphina isn't intoxicated. Please, calm yourself," Caelum intervenes. He tries to be the voice of reason, but I know his words carry little weight with her. Isolde looks at him as though he has just spoken the gravest blasphemy. "Don't be foolish, Caelum. Alcohol can cause sterility in a woman." She retorts with the conviction of someone who believes herself to hold all the knowledge in the world. I fight the urge to laugh out loud. Her arrogance is almost comedic. Isolde, being an enchantress herself, knows as well as I do that this claim is preposterous. But that's her game, and she plays it well. Her arrogance is infuriating. She sees herself as superior, but I know that despite everything, my lineage is more noble than hers. Perhaps that's what unsettles her so much. We are two players, two serpents, each waiting for the right moment to strike. "Mother, don't exaggerate," Caelum attempts again, his voice firmer this time but still hesitant. "Seraphina and I will have children when the time is right. The time is now, Caelum." She delivers her words with subtle venom, her eyes fixed on mine as though I were a fragile prey. "If she cannot give you a child, what use is she to you or the kingdom?" I pretend her words strike me deeply, allowing tears to well in my eyes, as though I am about to crumble under the weight of her cruel accusations. A sob rises, tightening my throat like a knot of suppressed emotions. I let the dramatic silence linger, filling the room with an air of tension, as I struggle to appear fragile. "If you'll excuse me, I would prefer." I let the sentence trail off, my voice faltering before I can finish, creating a pause heavy with meaning. I rise with theatrical delicacy, my eyes fixed on Caelum, seeking his sympathy with the most vulnerable expression I can muster. He looks at me with concern, the conflict clear on his face, but I say nothing more. I leave the dining hall slowly, each step a deliberate struggle against the emotional weight bearing down on me. Debating and arguing with Isolde is a battle I learned in our very first year of marriage that I can never win, and will always emerge as the villain. Now, crying and playing the part of the victim is the best way to triumph. Reaching our chambers, I enter and close the door with a gentleness that contrasts starkly with the whirlwind of thoughts raging through my mind. I quickly wipe the tears from my face in front of the mirror, watching my reflection compose itself with precision. The emotions I so carefully performed are replaced with a calculated calm. I know the man I married well. Within minutes, Caelum will be here, trying to repair the damage caused by his mother's venomous words. That wretched hag. I open the glass doors to the balcony and step into the fresh night air, letting the cool breeze toy with the folds of my gown. Below, the royal garden stretches out, a vast expanse of green draped in shadow and moonlight. This silence, unlike the oppressive quiet of dinner, is almost comforting. Yet even here, alone for a fleeting moment, I feel the memory of what Caelum did because of that human creeping into my thoughts, like a lingering shadow that refuses to fade. And then, as expected, I hear the soft sound of the door opening. He's here. His presence is as tangible as the air around me, laden with remorse and concern. "My love, I'm sorry for my mother's words," Caelum begins behind me, his voice heavy with regret. I allow the tears to return, slipping down my cheeks as I keep my gaze fixed on the stars. I don't turn to face him yet. I want him to feel the full weight of the impact those words supposedly had on me. "Caelum, all I desire in this world is to give you children," I murmur, my voice trembling with feigned anguish. Each word carries the weight of a wound that doesn't exist but that he believes to be real. "Your mother is right. Without that, what use am I to you? I'm nothing but a burden, my king. A barren field that cannot bear the fruits of my devotion and love for you." I feel his hands touch my shoulders, warm and gentle, a futile attempt at comfort. His touch is like a silent promise of protection, but I know that promise is empty. Even so, I make the effort to respond with a slight shudder, my body tensing for a moment before yielding to his touch. He turns me to face him, and I finally let my eyes meet his, filled with a carefully crafted sorrow. Seraphina, you will never be a burden to me. I could never ask for a better mate, Caelum says with a tenderness that only fuels my game. He believes every word he speaks. His fingers brush away the tears cascading down my face, and his expression softens, full of adoration. His lips meet mine in a kiss that is soft, almost hesitant, as though he fears breaking me further. I kiss him back, letting a hint of longing slip through. Kissing Caelum has never been difficult. Our physical relationship has always been satisfying, but love? That's something that has never truly existed. Not on my side nor on his. Even so, my arms wrap around his neck, and I let him take the lead. I know exactly which touches and caresses stir his desires, and he, in turn, knows my weaknesses. As his hands glide over my body, slowly lifting the fabric of my dress, I allow my thoughts to drift away. My body responds with a mechanical, automatic desire, while in my mind, the reminder of what he did for the human echoes like an invisible wound. Even as Caelum touches me with tenderness, the betrayal lingers, a shadow I cannot completely dispel. But I pretend, as always, I pretend so well that even he believes I am his, that the desire for him still burns within me. And tonight, like so many others, I let myself be carried by him, knowing that deep down, this is just another move in my game.
Chapter 44, Caelum. Tell me, my son, what truly brings you here? My mother asks in the softest voice. Without my wife around, my mother is far more serene. Her voice, though gentle, carries an undercurrent of authority, as if even in trivial questions, there's an expectation of control. She leans back slightly in the garden chair, her green eyes fixed on me with a calmness that is almost unsettling. Without Seraphina's presence, my mother's usual coldness dissolves, and the maternal figure I once knew briefly resurfaces, albeit in a measured and calculated way. The garden where we sit is vast and lush, a true sanctuary shielded from the pressures of the kingdom. Vibrant flowers, tall and brimming with life, stretch around us like a vibrant mantle of colors, the soft fragrance of lilies and jasmine petals floating in the air. My mother's sudden change in behavior toward my wife began in the first year of our marriage. Her expectations of securing an heir for the kingdom were high. After all, she had chosen Seraphina for me herself, an enchantress like her. My mother knew that enchantresses and lycans could conceive children, and she found it absurd that Seraphina hadn't yet become pregnant. I came to talk about my cousin Alexander. I need a favor from you. I reply in the most diplomatic tone possible, already anticipating her reaction. Even though I know my mother rarely denies requests involving family politics, there's always a cost, an implied trade. Her sharp gaze glimmers with interest as I make my statement. Despite Isolde being an enchantress, my mother holds significant influence over my father's relatives, especially my aunt, Alexander's mother. The two are close friends. She raises an eyebrow, her probing gaze fixed on me with a curiosity only an enchantress like her can exude. It's as if she's trying to peel back the layers of intent behind my words. She shifts subtly in her chair, her pale, slender fingers adjusting the fabric of her silk robe. Alexander is planning to marry, I announce, and a broad smile spreads across my mother's lips even before I can explain the matter fully. Hold on. It's possible the bride may not be to my aunt's liking, nor to yours. Isolde folds her arms across her lap, as if bracing herself for something unpleasant. Her chin lifts slightly, and the affectionate smile that only seconds ago lit up her face vanishes as quickly as it appeared. It's astonishing how, in mere seconds, she can transform the warmth of a mother into something cold and distant. Is he perhaps planning to marry a relative of your wife, Queen Seraphina? My mother accuses, her voice dripping with acidity. Mother, don't be like this. Seraphina is a wonderful wife. I defend her calmly, though I know this battle is futile. My mother's perception of my wife is something I've never been able to change. At my words, I see Isolde's eyes narrow briefly, as though my defense irritates her even more. She should already be a wonderful mother, Caelum. I roll my eyes at the meaningless debate over my wife and her supposed failings. No, mother, he does not plan to marry anyone related to Seraphina. but a human. Isolde, who was about to respond with yet another critique about Seraphina, freezes for a moment. Her eyes narrow once again, the disapproval clearly written on her face. Is she of noble birth? The question comes dry, direct, without any pretense. The veiled hope that maybe, just maybe, there's some title involved. Unfortunately, no. She's a commoner. Isolde shakes her head, her thin lips curving into a look of disgust, as if the idea of a commoner approaching the royal family is simply unacceptable. I can almost feel the heat of her disappointment radiating from her, as if this were a personal affront. Your cousin spends 5 years in another kingdom, and when he returns, he has these revolutionary ideas. I imagine you want me to smooth over your aunt's reactions if this marriage goes forward. There's a deliberate coldness in her voice, as if she already knows the answer before even asking. She always knows. I take a deep breath, trying to control the growing irritation. He asked for my blessing. I set some conditions, however. I believe he'll be able to fulfill them. I will also have my conditions before speaking with your aunt, Caelum, Isolde retorts, and this time, I raise an eyebrow. It didn't take long to understand where this conversation is heading, and soon I roll my eyes and stand up from the garden chair. Seraphina and I are trying to produce your precious heirs. There's no more room for you to pressure us on this, Mother, I declare, irritated. I can't help the sharp tone, as if each word is steeped in all the frustration built up over the years. That is not my condition, Your Majesty, my mother replies in a soft voice. Her eyes pierce me, her expression unwavering, like a marble statue, rigid and impassive in the face of human emotions. By saying, Your Majesty, it's as if she's reminding both of us that this conversation goes beyond the personal. It concerns the kingdom, the lineage, the future. Seraphina is incapable of bearing children. This is clear, my mother continues, her words dripping like subtle poison. My condition for supporting your decision with your cousin and speaking with your aunt is the annulment of your marriage to Seraphina. 5 years is far too long without an heir, Caelum. We need to find a lycan for you. Even a human would suffice in times like these. This last statement falls on me like a blade. It's direct and brutal, yet spoken with the delicacy my mother always used when approaching serious matters. My eyes widen, and my entire body stiffens with the magnitude of what she's suggesting. I feel my heart race for a moment, as if it's trying to absorb the impact of her words. You want me to divorce Seraphina? The words leave my mouth before I can fully ponder them, and I recognize the shock in my own voice. Isolde remains unperturbed. There's no hesitation in her gaze, no compassion. She never allows emotion to interfere with her judgments. No, divorce implies there was an evolution in your marriage, that there was a bond between the two of you. She didn't perform the only function she was given, to bear children. Your marriage, without heirs, is nothing more than a contract, a failed alliance. An annulment is far more appropriate, she replies with disconcerting seriousness, never breaking eye contact with me. I rub my eyes, trying to process everything she just said. I feel the weight of her relentless logic hanging over me, as if every word were a nail sealing the fate of my marriage. Mother, I can't just annul my marriage to Seraphina. My voice is a mix of frustration and exasperation. The mere thought of considering this possibility makes me feel as if I'm betraying not only my mate, but also the responsibility I took on when I married her. Seraphina has her flaws, of course, but she is my queen. And as much as the kingdom expects heirs, there is more to our relationship than just that, right? Of course you can. You're the king, my mother retorts, her coldness almost cutting. Her words are a clear reminder of where the power lies in this situation. And don't play the fool. We both know there is no love between you two. Don't act as if your heart beats strongly for this woman, she adds, relentless. Her tone is sharp yet calm, as if she is merely reaffirming an undeniable truth. This is my condition, Caelum. If the love and determination of your cousin are true, then you must make a sacrifice for the good of the kingdom. Chapter 45, Caelum. The atmosphere around us is charged with a silent tension as the car finally pulls into the palace garage. I turn my face and stare at Seraphina, searching for any sign that these last few days in the countryside made any difference. But what I see is the same tired expression, the same weak smile that doesn't reach her eyes, as if she's wearing a mask merely out of obligation. I thought a few days away, in the countryside with my mother, could help us improve things, I say, trying to sound optimistic, even though I don't feel that hope within me. Next time, we'll go somewhere, just the two of us. Seraphina, however, doesn't react as I expected. Her smile remains expressionless, almost as if it were carved from stone. The despondency that hangs over her is palpable, almost suffocating in the confined space of the car. If it weren't for Alexander and his ridiculous request for support, maybe Seraphina and I could have fixed what was wrong between us. The sex on the nights we spent in the countryside was satisfactory. More than that, it was intense. But what was meant to be an escape from the tensions in our marriage turned into another burden of obligations. My mother's words echo in my mind like a threatening pendulum, swinging over my head, about to fall. "It's all right, Majestade," she responds, her voice polite and refined as always. "I hope you got what you truly wanted from your visit to your mother. Your cousin, the Duke, is lucky to have you." She speaks as though she's following a protocol, as if she already knows that whatever I did wouldn't change anything between us. "Did you manage to convince your mother?" Seraphina asks. I scratch my head uncomfortably. I struggle to lie to Seraphina, even though the lie weighs on my tongue like lead. "Yes," I murmur, almost without conviction, forcing a smile. "It was easy. Now I just need to wait for Alexander to do his part." She nods, her friendly, yet empty smile betraying no emotion. She gets out of the car, and I remain in the passenger seat for a few more seconds, trapped by the suffocating weight of my own thoughts. Everything around me feels compressed, as if the car's space is too small to contain my confusion. My mother, my mate, my cousin, the kingdom. Everything feels like an intricate web, and I'm at its center, powerless. "Aren't you coming?" Seraphina's voice, distant, interrupts my spiral of thoughts. She's already halfway to the palace entrance, watching me with a slightly curious expression, as if she doesn't expect much more from me. And perhaps she doesn't. With a heavy sigh, I exit the car, but instead of following her, I open the door to a smaller, sportier vehicle. Something inside me rejects the idea of returning to my duties as king. Not now. Not after the emotional weight my mother placed on me with her demand to annul my marriage. The truth is, I can't escape my obligations. The crown, the protocols, the political alliances, they all follow me like shadows. "I'm going to sort out some matters in the city," I say vaguely, not looking at Seraphina as I start the car. "I'll be back later." "Don't worry." I glance back through the rearview mirror and see Seraphina standing at the entrance, her arms crossed as she watches me leave. Her eyes seem somewhat empty, as if she already knows I'm running away, not just from her, but from myself and the decisions I need to make. Her silhouette shrinks as the car pulls away from the property, and I feel a wave of relief wash over me, as if, for just a moment, I could escape the suffocating pressure surrounding me. The city streets unfold before me, each turn of the wheel taking me farther from the castle, from my duties, and bringing me closer to her, Aria. No matter how much time has passed since the last time I saw her, there's something in me that refuses to let her go. Like an irresistible magnet, she pulls me closer. The news I heard about her recovery was enough to calm me for a time, but not enough. I need to see her, touch her skin, hear her voice. My mother's words, that my heart doesn't beat strongly for my wife, were the truest and most insane thing she's ever said to me. Yes, there's camaraderie between us, a kind of tenderness that develops after years of living together. But there's no passion, no uncontrollable fire that burns. Is it fair to annul a 5-year marriage just because there are no children, just because we're not hopelessly in love? The concept consumes me as I drive toward the building where Aria works. I arrive at the small event company building, which has gotten a new facade since the last time I was here. The change is subtle, but noticeable. I park the car and remain still for a moment, absorbing the surroundings. My sharpened senses catch fragments of conversations, the sound of human hearts beating in uneven rhythms, full of life. The simplicity of their lives, their small, everyday dramas, sometimes seem more interesting and vibrant than the dilemmas I carry as king. I try to catch the scent of Aria, that unmistakable aroma that has always been like an anchor to me, but it's not there. I scan the surroundings with my senses, searching for some sign of her, but nothing. The frustration builds inside me. She's not here. The emptiness of her absence fills me, eroding the little peace I had hoped to find. Without thinking too much, I decide to go to her house. Asher had already given me the address. The drive there is short, but time seems to stretch infinitely. With every kilometer, my heart beats faster, quickened by the anticipation of seeing her again. Weeks away from her have created an urgency inside me that I cannot control. I did try to keep my distance, tried to reignite what was between Seraphina and me, but the conversation with my mother and the growing possibility of separation have turned that urgency into something unbearable. Finally, I park a few meters away from Aria's house. The memories flood my mind with unexpected force. It's been 5 years since the last time I was here. I was drunk, it was night, and my perception was hazy. Now, in the daylight, I see the simplicity of the house more clearly. As I watch, still a few meters away from Aria's house, an unexpected scene unfolds before my eyes. The front door creaks open, and a little girl, apparently 5 years old, runs out onto the sidewalk with contagious energy. Her small, clumsy steps, full of life, lead her directly to a hopscotch pattern painted on the pavement. She begins to hop excitedly, balancing on one leg, laughing loudly with every successful jump, as if the world were only that game, and she were its sole inhabitant. The street around her, previously quiet and calm, seems to be filled with the crystal-clear sound of her laughter, an innocent melody that echoes off the simple walls of the neighboring houses. Something stirs within me as I watch her. The simplicity of the scene captivates me. She jumps from square to square, and for a moment, I feel a pang of nostalgia. That kind of carefree joy, the lightness of being a child. It's been so long since I left that part of me behind. And then, I wonder, am I capable of providing that to someone? Of taking care of a life as small and fragile as this little girl's? Me, with all my responsibilities, with the weight of a kingdom on my shoulders, with the complications of my marriage. Am I fit to be a father? These thoughts consume me as I watch her hop. Each of her laughs echoes like an answer, but I don't find the certainty I seek. Will I be a good father? My kingdom certainly needs heirs, but what about me? What do I need? The idea of raising a child, of shaping a life, frightens me as much as it intrigues me. The girl continues playing, spinning in joy, her simple dress twirling around her like a whirlwind. The light breeze moves her braids, and the afternoon sun shines on her hair, highlighting the childlike sparkle in her eyes. Suddenly, in the middle of all her excitement, she trips. The scene seems to slow before me, and without thinking, without reasoning, my instincts take over. In the blink of an eye, before her fragile body even leans too far toward the ground, I'm by her side, my hands firm on her delicate shoulders, stopping her fall. Oops, almost fell there. My voice comes out soft, almost paternal, as I lift her back up, straightening her carefully. The girl's eyes, large and green, reflect a mixture of shock and relief. Her breath is quick, her little heart pounding in her small chest. And for a moment, she just stares at me, trying to process what just happened. It's such a delicate and vulnerable scene that I feel a tightness in my chest. She blinks a few times, then opens a grateful smile. Thank you. Mommy always says I need to be more careful with my steps, the little girl declares in a soft, sweet voice. The sound of her words resonates within me like something deeply familiar and comforting, yet also stirs up a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I step a little closer, observing her face up close. Her features, though childish, bring to the surface a latent memory, as if I were looking at a younger version of Aria. However, there is something more, something I can't quite place. There is a trait there that escapes me, that doesn't entirely belong to Aria. I try to decipher where this feeling comes from whom she might have inherited this other part that I don't recognize, and it disturbs me. Well, your maid is absolutely right, I say with a gentle smile, bending down slightly to her level. It's always good to watch where our feet take us. Sometimes, our steps can be treacherous. My voice carries a light, almost ironic tone, as though I'm speaking more to myself than to her. She lets out a little giggle and nods, shaking her head playfully. For a moment, it feels as though time stops, and it's just me and this little girl, on some random street, far from the pressures of the palace and the intrigues of the court. But the tranquility is brief. The door of the house swings open again with a thud, interrupting the moment. A familiar figure hurries out, her face stern, pulling a little boy by the hand who seems still somewhat lost. It's Lyra. She steps out of the house with a tense expression, her eyes fixed on the little girl. "Aloan, you little pest!" Lyra scolds in a harsh voice, her tone a sharp contrast to the laid-back atmosphere of just moments ago. "Haven't I told you 1,000 times not to leave the house alone?" The mention of the girl's name, Aloan, sends a shiver through me. If you like it, subscribe, share, comment, and like. If you want to read the book, link in the description.